when you go through those results, you get a much better feel for what's happening in the economy, rather than listening to, looking at economic reports put together on spreadsheets by the big banks and so on. I'm not knocking the economists there and that, but a company will tell you what's happening. And when I see the number of trucks driving around with people installing solar panels and inverters, that's the thread of the conversation now. We've got some very good retailers. I think South Africa, we breed them, and they're superb. Whether it's ShopRite, Pepkor, Clicks, Dis-Chem, and that, wherever, Woolworths. I know Woolworths went a little awry, when they went into Australia, but overall, you can't fault our retailers. It's been neglected for a few years, but always had decent results in that. So I think the big theme is, as we know it's going to happen, is infrastructure. Higgo, you know something, while we're talking to a broader audience, if you want, and I do this religiously, I do it virtually every day. Sometimes I can't get through things, but I try every day to go through the numbers, cash bill numbers out there. I've still got to go do that now. And I watch this every day. It goes from 80 Rand to 90 Rand. Once it gets to 90 Rand, they knock it back to 80 Rand. Then it gets to 80 Rand, they go up to, and I say, hold on a sec, sooner or later it's got to break out of that. The numbers are too good. So I felt it was an unloved and perhaps underappreciated company.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another FinMeUp episode. Today we are privileged to have David Shapiro with us on this channel. We're going to talk about the Cristal Challenge, and then we're also going to talk about some of his stock picks that he made for this year. So David, thanks for being here. It's awesome to have you on the show. I know we had you, I think it was 2 years ago, when we spoke about some offshore high growth shares. Some of them performed really well. But talk us through the Cristal Challenge. It's such a fun thing. We also launched a FinMeUp stock pick challenge. The link is in the description where you can choose your 5 shares. But I mean, the Cristal Challenge, it's everybody's speaking about it on Twitter. There's so many people that joined. I know it's a lot of hard work for you as well. Maybe not, but talk us through it. How did that start? It's so cool.
I started in 2021 for fun. And we were all in lockdown. People were miserable. And I actually saw a lot of value on the JSE, mainly because shares had been smashed. And I thought, hold on a sec, there's some businesses here that are trading at such significant discounts to by intrinsic value, are making up that, what I perceive to be their, asset value. And I thought, this is great. Let's choose 5 stocks. So I got people like Julieta Televi from Business Day TV and from the Financial Mail, Piet Viljoen, and a few other people that I knew, Simon Brown, Bright Kamalo, people I knew. And I said, okay, you choose 5 stocks. I got to choose. We'll have a bottle of champagne at the end. Cristal, as you know, is like the premier champagne brand. And then we got a few other people who muscled in and said, I also want to be in. Betsy Scarp, who came in and she said, you can't have a competition without me. So at the end of the day, we only had 15 people. But by tweeting it and sharing ideas, we attracted a lot of attention. At the end, after a year, Betsy won, hands down. I mean, she was, she got a bottle of champagne. I actually sent champagne to most of the people there. But what it did do, because of Twitter, it attracted a lot of attention. Everybody said, I also want to try. Everybody had their ideas of what they thought would be good shares. So last year we got about 77 people. And for me it was hard work, monitoring the dividends and everything, because dividends is an important part of the growth side of it. And it developed from there. And then we got an AfriStay voucher from my broadband, from Rudolf Buerta. He was great. He said, okay, 20,000 Rand. And then Easy Equities wanted, so they gave 2 prizes of 10,000 Rand, to the first non-professionals. And then we even got sponsorship by the French, for the champagne. They were very helpful and charitable. They said, okay, buy one, get one free. Now, you can understand, because the bottles go at 5,000 Rand a bottle. You know, so this is not your Somerset West plonk. You know, this is some.
Yeah, if you're taking some shots.
Oh, of course we had Boerplaas as well. Daniel Nell. How can I ignore Daniel? So Daniel came in and also sponsored a whole lot of his whiskies, which are great, you know, and sent up a whole lot of bottles, which we distributed quite freely and gave to the first person who got all five, you know, who got 5 positive selections, because everybody got Tongela last year, you know, that was the winner. So they got 1 winner and 4 losers, and it was a matter of how bad the losers were that you know, who won. You know, it wasn't. So it was a great competition. We did have an evening. And so then for this year, we've got about 203. We haven't done the sponsorships yet. We're going to work on that. But there's still a lot of interest. It's been, when I say dull, mainly because of the market. You know, we haven't had any runaways yet. PPC and a few stocks are starting to kind of have a bit of a run. But so without, I mean, I must give you a breath to speak, but I mean, it's fun, you know, because it's formed a community, and I think that's why everybody's in, you know, and people hate to see their names at the bottom of the list, you know. They don't mind if they're midway, but if they bottom, you know, and I like to make them scam as well. I really highlight, you know, students start highlighting, you know, who's down at the bottom and so on. So it's really just a fun competition.
Yeah, everyone loves a bit of competition. I mean, we've got the quizzes on the FinMeUp app, and you know, it's so simple. It's 5 questions a day, but you know, people love some competition, because there's leaderboards, and there's the streak leaderboard where you know, you have to play every day to build up a streak, and there's 2 guys with over 110-day streaks. You know, for 110 days, consecutive days, they played the quiz, and that sense of competition, I mean, it's awesome to see that it's in the stocks as well.
The idea behind it, first of all, there's been very little. I don't want to criticize the JSE, but most private clients are kind of unloved. You know, most of the focus is on the institutional, and certainly to a large extent on the big institutions who sell their products. And I just wanted to help stimulate the concept of owning direct shares, and also showing that sometimes if you own some of these small companies, you can actually make money, you know, which we've proved every year. You know, take a selection, you can make money, you know, and Piet Viljoen is a great proponent of that and big supporter of that. So we're trying to get people to build their own portfolios, start your own portfolio. You know, you might want to give 80% to the big chaps, you know, etc., and keep it 20%. But that little 20%, start to learn, because you learn so much from following companies, you know, from learning about companies, what they do, and sometimes the good and the bad, and so on. So it does focus you, and I think that was the main intention of the competition, is to keep people focused, and especially for novices who are so nervous to do this. But once they see, you know, what's Keith McLaughlin chosen, you know, what did Bright or Nick Kunze, what did they choose? Okay, I don't feel so bad, and that's really what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. So let's talk about your stock picks. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watching this just want to know, what did David pick, and why did he pick them?
I'm the worst on earth. Yeah, you should never go by one.
Well, I'm sure. How have they been performing this? So let's go through them. The first one is Bytes.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Bytes? I don't really follow this one.
Bytes came out of Altron, and it's the offshore arm of Altron. It's fundamentally an IT company, that a good service provider. But I've been watching their results, and they underperform their numbers. You know, the earnings are really good. They haven't let anybody down. They continue to produce, and the share price does nothing. And I watch this every day. It goes from 80 Rand to 90 Rand. Once it gets to 90 Rand, they knock it back to 80 Rand. Then it gets to 80 Rand, they go up to, And I said, hold on a sec. Sooner or later, it's got to break out of that. The numbers are too good. So I felt it was an unloved and perhaps underappreciated company. So that was Bytes, yeah. So I urge people to watch the numbers. And whenever it doesn't perform, I keep asking, well, what did I miss? What did I miss that the market's picking up? So
there's also that quote from Warren Buffett. I think it's Warren Buffett or Peter Lynch, or one of the legends that say, eventually the share price catches up to the fundamentals. You just have to be patient.
Yeah,
and maybe that's the case.
Fundamentals aren't bad and the share down. That's also an issue. Yeah.
Your second pick is Reunert. Why?
I've known Reunert for years. It's always been a good business, but it's been largely neglected. It's an infrastructure company. I'm just packaging it. It's got, it does all things around. Its businesses are the kind of businesses that will thrive from infrastructure development, mainly on the cable side and companies associated to that. It was during our busy years here, when the economy is growing, there's always a top company under the stewardship of Bull Pretorius, and it's been neglected for a few years, but always had decent results in that. So I think the big theme is, as we know it's going to happen, is infrastructure. We're going to be spending a lot on improving. We're going to have a minister of electricity, another minister. So believe me, I think a lot of spending is going to be done. And when I see the number of trucks driving around with people installing solar panels and inverters, that's the thread of the conversation now. What do you got? A diesel generator, a petrol generator, so on. So I think energy, in whichever form it comes, is going to be. So I think it's one of these businesses that's going to benefit from that.
Yeah, I saw an article this morning with lithium batteries where they say that lithium's demand will fivefold by 2030, and I have some exposure to that through the lithium and battery ETF. I don't know if you follow that ETF.
Now, I gave you that one. I told you to buy that one.
Could have very well been.
Global X lithium and battery ETF. There you are.
Yeah, so that's also something.
Top stocks, yeah.
Yeah, that's something the viewers can watch.
Yeah, I also enjoy it, yeah.
So the next one is Growth Point. Yeah. Something different. Why?
Yeah, I just felt that, and we're looking a year out, that somewhere down the line, property will turn. I'm not a property man, far from it. I avoid property like the plague. But I think they've been knocked so much, and I took the top company, and I think that hopefully when interest rates start to fall and start to ease, and costs start to come down, there's a chance that Growth Point will turn around. It was a punt. It's maybe too early to go into it now, but you've got to try and work out where you're going to be at the end of the year. So the yields are okay. The yields are good. Yeah. But it's a property company, and maybe sometimes I regret these things.
Yeah, well, with these competitions, it's a year is shorter in the bigger picture. So you have to take some punts. Sometimes they go your way, sometimes not. Kumba Iron Ore.
China. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that by the second part of the year, global economy picks up and China starts to put the accelerator on for its economy and starts to pick up there. Iron ore prices held well. Kumba, and unfortunately, like all our mining companies, have been dragged down by Transnet, and other kinds of issues around the South African economy, which really just acts as an extra weight that our businesses have to kind of push aside or deal with. But I'm hoping that we see some kind of response by the Chinese government to pick up the. I've got the back of my kind of mind, the back of my head. I'm just a little worried that the stimulus in China might come through consumption and services rather than building another road to nowhere and that. But, the property sector, I think they want to get going again. So, and it's a good company, Kumba. I've got, it's a very low cost producer. So I'm hoping that it comes, that it starts to, maybe I'm a little too conservative and should have gone for some real dogs, that are going to turn around. Like the winners now at the moment are in PPC and a few other kind of companies. It's only a month down, yeah. Anyway,
a year is a long time, but it's also a short time. So who knows what happens, and sometimes the dogs fall. The last one is Pepkor. I know one of our FinMeUp team members, Paul. He's a big fan of Pepkor. Especially the Brazilian operation. So why did you choose Pepkor?
For the same reason. I just think everywhere you drive in South Africa, there's a Pepkor. So, and it always gives a very strong and good offering. It's I think it's a superb business, and just tailored for where for the bottom end of the market, but even so it gives a very good product. So I like Pepkor. I mean, it's still got the weight of Steinhoff around it, and they keep flogging off shares. Whenever they need money, they just chip off a few, as we saw last week and that. But it's we've got some very good retailers. I think South Africa, we breed them, and they're superb. Whether it's ShopRite, Pepkor, Clicks, Dis-Chem, and that, wherever Woolworths. I know Woolworths went a little awry, when they went into Australia, but overall, you can't fault our retailers. Some of them go a bit odd, Spar sometimes, but as we've seen. But overall, I mean, a very, very good segment. And I think Pepkor's okay, And again, hoping that things start to ease by the end of the year and things pick up there and they benefit from that.
Load shedding obviously has a massive operational expense, for these retailers. We saw with ShopRite, Pick n Pay, Kaap Agri. It's probably also going to impact Pepkor. What's your take on that?
Higgo, something, while we're talking to a broader audience, if you want, and I do this religiously, I do it virtually every day. Sometimes I can't get through things, but I try every day to go through the numbers, cash bill numbers out there. I've still got to go do that now. And I don't know what else is out today. But when you go through those results, you get a much better feel for what's happening in the economy, rather than listening to, looking at economic reports put together on spreadsheets by the big banks and so on. I'm not knocking the economists there and that, but a company will tell you what's happening. As you mentioned, Pick n Pay will tell you that customer habits are changing. Lewis said the same thing, mainly in Pick n Pay's case, they don't want to buy fresh goods because the fridges are going to go out, and so on also, and things like that. You find the cost of what load shedding has done, and go through the mining companies. You understand the cost of Transnet not being able to supply carriages, so that they can get their goods to harbour. So you pick up so much from going through and you don't have to go through the hundreds and hundreds of reports. All those numbers can drive you absolutely batty. Just get a picture of how the business is doing.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks so much, David. It's always great having you on this channel, and hopefully we can have you more often. So for those who don't know the Crystal Challenge, check the links in the description. We'll put that link. We'll put the link to our challenge. Everything else. Also, we interviewed David, I think it was 2 years ago. Time flies, but you can check that interview as well. He's a legend in the industry.
You
Thanks so much.
Ask me my offshore favorites. Yeah, I've still got lots of offshore favorites.
Okay, well that's a bonus. Let's do that.
I've got 4 more on my watch list this year.
Okay,
and I haven't quite bought them. The one is Ulta, which is a beauty company. ULTA. ULTA. It's actually a beauty retailer. But I actually picked this up, and Barron's also featured this last weekend. I love that. Costco is another retailer, because, that's Charlie Munger's favorite business, Costco. Shame I can't go into all the details now. The third one, I'm not going to give you the fourth one because that's a boring dividend payer, you know. And
Give it to us.
we don't want those, no. And the third one I'm looking at is Daimler Trucks, because Daimler Trucks was split out from Daimler, Mercedes, you know, the heavy side. So I like the trucking side because you've got to have it repaired all the time. So it's like Caterpillar. People keep coming back and having to repair it, and they're going electric. So they've got to transform their whole industry for the trucking industry. I said, okay, this is good. And Mercedes is a top name in trucking. You know, it's like it's unlike motor vehicles. The brands are much tighter, you know, because you need a good truck. You can't risk it like a motor vehicle, you know, people who like us who just drive motor cars and that. So those are on my watch list for this year.
Okay.
So
the Ulta Beauty,
ULTA.
How does that compare to the other well-known brands like
Sephora? Yeah, you see, it's like a Sephora, which is part of LVMH. So it's you can buy everything in there. You go into these big stores and you can get cosmetics, you know, and all the different brands are there. You can get the perfumes, you can have your hair done, makeup done, buy brushes, buy, you know, shampoos and everything. So it's not for you. It's not for me, you know. Although I don't want to be gender, you know. We never like to bring gender into these things because, you know, it comes back and backfires and that. But I think generally it's for females and that. And both my wife and my daughter highlighted this to me and said, you know, you've got to look at Ulta.
Yeah,
So
well,
have a look at
I
it.
definitely think beauty products, because I mean, my wife, wherever she goes, you know, there's the handbag with the makeup. So the demand will always be there, I guess.
Have a look at this one.
I'll definitely have a look. Thanks so much, David. We'll have you back on this channel very soon. For those who haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. You won't miss these videos at the end of the day. Thanks for coming, David. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and insights. Everyone, check the links in the description. Hope you have a great day.
You never went through the shares you chose, eh? But we won't go do that.